There are moments in life when everything you know shatters your strength, your health, even your sense of who you are. But what if I told you, those very moments are the doorway to discovering a power you never imagined? Today, I'm sharing a story not just about survival, but about transformation, a journey from fear to faith, from labels to legacy. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could change the way you see your own life forever. What does it take to be in charge of your destiny? What do you have going for you? What is it that you have going for you right now that's a real plus for you? What is it that you have going against you? What kind of training do you require? What is it that you need to learn? Don't worry about the fact that you don't have all the things you need in order to make it happen. Decide that you're going to do something about it. Become an active force in your life. Most people go through life never using the power they have. If you don't use your talents, if you don't use this power, this force that you have within you, you're going to lose it. As you begin to look at life, as you begin to look at the things you want to do, decide that you're going to become the active force in your life. View all of the things that happen to you as an opportunity. Now you become an active force in your life. Now you are the one. Rather than running from things as they begin to change, you become a change driver because you know that you've got the power within you to make the difference. This force, this power, this energy that you have is more powerful than anything that can ever happen to you. How are you feeling this evening? Whenever somebody asks me how I'm doing, I always say better than good and better than most. And that's what I like for you to say. How you doing? Better than good, better than most. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say you're doing better than good, you're better than good. You know, I like to say that because I believe that we have a lot of things going for us that many of us don't realize. And many of us really never use all the things that we have going for us and never act on the things that we'd like to act on. Consequently, most of us go through life sleepwalking, never really discovering our true potential, never enjoying life to its full extent. Therefore, there are some things that we need to begin to do to take charge of our destiny. How many of you like to take charge of your destiny? Raise your hand, please. Very good. All right, so we're going to do that. One of the things that really stimulated this, I was with a friend of mine. We were riding back after I'd spoken to her company. They had a major downsizing. Now they call it right-sizing, when companies reduce the workforce for economic reasons. At any rate, when we were on the plane, she said, "I'm no longer going to be with the company." I said, "Why?" She said, "My division has been eliminated." I said, "Well, you do have another plan, don't you?" And she said, "No." I said, "But didn't they have something like this about a year ago?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Didn't you start thinking that maybe you need to prepare to do what you really wanted to do?" Because this person always wanted to be involved in fashion design. I said, "Haven't you been doing something on your fashion designing career?" She said, "No." I said, "What have you been doing?" She said, hoping that nothing would happen to me. I said, "But hoping is not a process, it's not a method. A lot of people go through life like that." Now that wasn't really what she wanted to do, but I do a training seminar, and one of the things we ask is, what would you do if the unthinkable happens to you? What would you do if you had an accident, lost your job, were laid off, or became ill? How would you provide for yourself if the unthinkable happens to you? It doesn't always happen to the other person. It can happen to me, it can happen to you. But most of us go through life thinking that maybe it won't happen to me, that it's something that happens to somebody else. I was talking to a friend of mine named Maria, who is wheelchair bound. She said that she had an experience that taught her she's not immune from life. She was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy at age 15. 2 years ago, because of a malfunctioning wheelchair, she fell out of a van, struck her head, and suffered a closed head injury. She had blood on her brain, and they said she might go blind or lose her memory or concentration. I asked how she handled that. She said it was the best thing that could have happened to her. I asked why. She said, "Because that day I woke up and realized life is about today, living today. Whatever I want to do, I do it right now." She said, "I enjoy getting up in the morning, looking out of the window, just looking at the grass, because I could have lost my vision." She said, "I'm appreciative of just the little things. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, 'Be thankful for the little things.'" Isn't that important? We've got to begin to learn how to be thankful for the little things and live life right now. I want you to think about your ideas. All of us have ideas and things we have not acted on. Think about them right now. E.L. Simpson said an idea should be like a pin. You sit on it, and you jump up to do something. I don't want you to just think about it. I want you to act. Think about this. What does it take to be in charge of your destiny? You must develop some skills and ask yourself, what do you have going for you? What is it that you have going against you? What kind of training do you require? What do you need to learn? You make money only one of 3 ways in an economy like this. You must have a skill like becoming a speaker, have specialized knowledge, or have a product or service that fulfills a need. John H. Johnson of Ebony magazine said, "There is no defense against excellence that meets a pressing public need. So whatever idea you have, it must fulfill a need. Here's the next step. Don't worry about not having everything you need. Decide you're going to do something about it. Become an active force in your life. You have talents and abilities right now. If you don't challenge yourself to use them, you'll never discover their full power." Most people go through life never using the power they have. I travel a lot. One time after being gone for 2 months, I came back, put my key in my car's ignition, and it wouldn't start. The battery was dead. Why? Because I hadn't used it. If you don't use it, you lose it. If you don't use your talents, if you don't write, if you don't play your instrument, if you don't practice your gifts, you lose them. Whatever you want to do, whatever idea you have, the longer you sit on it, you're either creating or disintegrating. Life is happening right now. Many people allow their butts to stop them, but I don't know what to do. But I don't have the money. But I don't have the contacts. But I might fail. Fear stops people from living their dreams. Answer your calling. Don't count yourself out. Challenge yourself. Whatever you don't know, you can learn. I didn't know how to speak for corporations until I became a student. If you do your research and your homework, you can make it happen. Jim Rohn said, "If you develop your gifts will take you places you never imagined. Find one thing, master it, and work it until it gives you the blessing you want." When working on your dream, give it everything you've got. Most people don't give everything they have. They hold back. Release your emergency brakes. Don't let fear, doubt, or excuses hold you back. You have enough. What you have is enough. Life has winners and whiners. The major key to taking charge of your destiny is you. Even if you don't have all the resources, you have the power within you. If you develop your consciousness and hold the vision of your dream, the way will come. Ideas will come. Skills will develop. The right people and opportunities will be attracted to you, but you must act. Don't procrastinate. Don't waste valuable time. Life is fragile. Time is precious. Decide to do what you can now. Wait, and I said, Mr. Motivator, come on. I said, hold a B, wait. I said, Mr. Motivator, come now. I said, okay, okay. I went outside, and I looked at the people. I said, you got to have a dream that's real big. I said, sometimes things will happen to you that will catch you on the blind side and bring you to your knees. I went back to the hotel, but they had to pull me off stage. I was out there, said you got to have a law of vision, you got to be hungry. They pulled me off, I said, and you got to stay more motivated. They said, come on, motivator. They were turning the lights off. The janitor wanted to go home. I wanted to keep off from me, so they took me to the H. I was walking in the room trying to find the Gideon Bible, and lonely was sitting on the bed, saying, how's your positive attitude? How is your larer vision? Now I'm telling you, when this happens, think it not strange. You are going to cry. People are going to get mad with you. People are going to start working against you. Your mate is going to get upset with you. Where you going? I'm working on the dream. Ooh, huh? I got your dream. You ain't going nowhere. People are going to start going crazy on you, becoming jealous and envious. That's a part of the program. Understand that. See, that's why a lot of people said no. That's all right. Pass on the dream, that's all. I just keep on biting my nails. Hope nothing don't happen. But it's an experience, that opposition, those obstacles that you will encounter. That's how you grow. That's how you become stronger. Now, will there be some tight moments? Will there be some times that you want to give up? Yes, here's something I was reading that Harriet Beecher Stowe said. When you get into a tight spot and everything goes against you until it seems that you cannot hold on for a minute longer, never give up then, for that is just the place and time that the tide will turn. Never give up then. And that is so important when you're working on doing the things you want to do and fulfilling your dream, and things happen. There are times when your energy feels so depleted that you want to give up, that it looks just totally impossible. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, don't give up then. That's when you've got to fall forward. When life is kicking dirt in your face, don't give up then. That's when most people turn back. Most people will tuck their tails between their legs, and they will run in the opposite direction and say, that's all right, life. I don't want this all right. No, no, no. If you've decided that this is what you want to do, you've got to become courageous, to stand up within yourself, to face it and step forward. And ladies and gentlemen, that is what gives your life meaning. Those things will begin to strengthen you like you can never begin to imagine. And I tell you, one of the most painful experiences I had in my life was also one of the most enriching, because they say that pain opens the space in the heart for joy. And because I did not buy into something, because I caught myself at a critical point and was able to back up and look at it, I was able to become free of the effects of what could have been a tragic situation for me and move on and do something about it. But I learned in the process that I had to learn to surrender and give certain things up. See, in life, everything that happens to you, there's a lesson in it. There's a lesson in it for you if you look at it. Whatever happens to you, just look at it and view life that you're a student of the universe and say, what's in here for me to learn? One of the most tragic things that happened to me that could have been a tragedy was when I wanted to buy my mother a home. And I did that, and in my haste, and it was the first major purchase of property that I ever made in my life, and so I was naive. And so when we were sitting there at the closing, the attorney said, "Have you done a title search?" And I said, "What's a title search?" And she said, Well, that's when you check to see whether or not there are any liens against the property before you purchase it, so that you don't inherit any financial obligations of the previous owner." The guy interrupted and said, "Look here, he said the only reason that I'm selling you this house, and I'm doing it at a loss I can actually make more money, but the only reason that I flew here from Philadelphia to sell you the house specifically is because I admire the fact that you are adopted and you want to buy this home for your mother, and he said there are no liens on the property. I just want to help you." So I looked at my attorney. I said, "I believe him." She said, "Les, this is business. I'm not questioning his integrity, but I advise you not to sign the contract now." I looked at him. He said, "If you're not going to do it, man, I'll just go ahead on and make the money that I was going to make." I said, "Okay, no, I want to do it, I'll do it." She said, "Okay." She said, "This is not the last house in the world." I signed the contract. After being in the house for around 2 months, I received a notice that I had to pay a lien of $25,000, or I had to get out of the house. I called the attorney. I said, "Look here, sir, my name is Les Brown. I'm the new owner of this property. I bought this home for my mother. She's 80 years old. She has a bad heart, a serious condition, and I just cannot give up this home. I just exhausted all of my resources to buy the house. That's all I have. Can we work out some kind of monthly payments? I don't know how much I can get, but if you can work with me, I guarantee I'll give you my word I want to keep this home. I'll pay you back." He said, "We want the money in 6 weeks or you have to get out of the house. It's going to go in an auction bar." I said, "Oh." I said, "But I borrowed everywhere I could just to get the $112,000 to put down on it." He said, "Mister, that's not my problem. You should have had a title search done." So I went back home, and I worried for weeks. I lost around 23 pounds. I would go home to catch the mail, so my mother wouldn't get it. They put a listing in the newspaper. People were driving around wanting to come in the house to look at it. So I put a sign out front saying that the newspaper article was an error, saying that the house was not up for sale. Finally, when they were coming for the day they were going to auction it on the courthouse steps, I knew the moment of truth had come. I had to tell my mother, so I walked all night that night. Around 2:00 in the morning, the children were asleep. My mother was asleep. I said, "Lord, why did this have to happen to me? I'm trying to do the right thing. I want to provide for Mom. I'm not out stealing and robbing. I want to provide for my children. Why did this have to happen to me?" I was personalizing it, feeling like a victim. Finally, I had to go tell my mom. I kneeled by the bed. I said, "Mama, I've got something to tell you." She said, "What?" I said, "We've got to move out the house." She said, "Why?" I said, "Well, because of the fact that I made a mistake, and I signed a contract when I should have had a title search done, and I can't pay the $25,000 outstanding lien against it." She said, "Good. I don't like this house anyway." I said, "But you told me you did." She said, "I just said that for you because you liked it so much." She said, "It's 2-story, baby, and the arthritis, I can't climb the steps. But you told me you could, Mama." "Oh, I just did that for you." I walked up the steps, and I was in the room said that fool crazy with this house. I said, "Oh, Mama." So I'll never forget when we had to pack up and go back to the old house we had moved out of, in Liberty City, right down the street from Miami Northwestern High School. And the neighbors were out looking, "Is that M's boy, they coming back?" I was so embarrassed. I mean, I turned red, but nobody could see it, you know. My sister came over. She didn't make it any better. Mister, big time won't get no job going around and running your mouth. Yeah, you got a dream to get mama a home, now you back where you belong. Here we came in the house and the roaches were playing bid whist. They say y'all come on in, we missed y'all. And as I was taking furniture off the truck, I was so hurt and humiliated. I felt beaten and I began to cry and I held my head down. And my mama said, "Hold your head up, boy." I said, "Mama, I just can't, Mama." She said, "Hold your head up. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You did the best you could. Hold your head up." So I said, "Yes, ma'am." So I was carrying the furniture in, and I had to give a lecture that week on forgiveness. And I can't talk about anything unless I'm doing it myself. And I had to forgive and forget, let it go so that I could grow. It took me time to work through that, but I did, and I was able to give the lecture. And to this day I can't even remember the guy's name, but because I let it go, and I began to focus my energy in the now, later I got a bigger and better home for my mama. Here's what I learned from that. That was not the last home in the world. There were other homes. If I had just been willing to just let it go, he who cares less wins, and the guy called and said, "You got to get out of there." If this is what happened, I could have, through worry and stress, had a heart attack over a house that my mama didn't even like. Do you follow what I'm saying? And I realized, hey, it's only things and it's okay. They are replaceable. I lost everything except my spirit and except the love of my mother and her respect and respect of my children. Sure, people talked about me. Did they laugh? Yes. Did I feel humiliated for a while? Yes, I did. Embarrassed? Yes, and that's a part of it. But I didn't stay there. See, sometimes you can wallow in it. You know, don't want to get somebody pull you out feeling good. Oh, I want to go back again. No, no, no. Don't wallow in self-pity, and there are people who will help you. You call them up, and they give you a pity party, all right, no. I talked the other night about some explorers that were in Africa, and they saw these two little boys who were playing with what appeared to be marbles. And they went up to these little guys and said, "Here, let me give you some candy for that." Little fellas ate the candy and like that said, "Can we have some more?" I said, "Yes, but would you give me what you are playing with?" And they said yes, and they gave these shiny little rocks, so to speak, to the explorers. The explorers took them back and examining them discovered they were large-sized uncut diamonds. They had a fortune. The little boys had a fortune in their hands, but they didn't know. Repeat after me, please. If we knew better, we would do better. See, there are many of us. We work for people and sometimes put in 60 and 70 hours a week. Why? Because we have the ability, the talents, and the skills to contribute to the long-term growth, development, and profitability of the company. Do we do that for ourselves? Oh no. Why? Well, we say, "Well, I've got security." There's no such thing. It's an illusion in your mind. Creating these illusions for ourselves, but doesn't mean that you can't strategically work on something else on the side. Develop some hobby or passion, and find ways that you can begin to create some alternative methods of providing wealth for yourself. See, you know, money is not important to me, but Rita Davenport said it's right up there with oxygen. But it is important to me that it not be important. I got that from R.E. Steele. That's important. It is important to me that it not be important. Make it important to you to live your dream. See, how many of you fly airplanes? You've been in an airplane. Raise your hand. Right. How many of you ever lost your luggage? Raise your hand, please. Raise your hand. All right, very good. Now, how many of you, if you knew your chances of getting to your next destination were as good as your luggage, would you still get on the airplane? No. No hands went up. You know why. You know why. You could get on the airplane where your luggage is supposed to go, and you show up, and your luggage does not show up because the airline has made human cargo, getting to the destination, more important than the luggage. Aren't you glad? She said, yeah, I ain't going to fuss no more. So as you begin to look at life, as you begin to look at the things you want to do, decide that you're going to become the active force in your life. Decide that you're not going to go through life feeling like a victim. Decide that when things become challenging, and they are, that you're not going to personalize it, that you're going to look at it and do whatever you must do in order to work things out and learn from it. Learn from it, that's the key. I like what Charles Udall said. In life you will always be faced with a series of God-ordained opportunities brilliantly disguised as problems and challenges. If you've lost your job, don't say, I've been laid off. Just say, I've been given an opportunity by the universe to find my life work. So as you view all of the things that happened to you as an opportunity, now you're taking it from a different perspective. Now you become an active force in your life. Now you are the one. Rather than running from things as they begin to change, you become a change driver because you know that you've got the power within you to make the difference. This force, this power, this energy that you have, that's more powerful than anything that can ever happen to you. You're more powerful than your circumstances or anything that you can experience. Right now, decide that you're going to commit yourself to act on your ideas, to become happy. Commit yourself to live your dream. Commit yourself to become the architect of your future. There's something that I heard that Goethe wrote that I love very much, and it really, as you begin to operate out of this consciousness, you begin to experience a different level of living in terms of commitment. He says, until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. See, until you are willing to jump out there. Somebody asked me, how do I do that? I said, no, 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 you don't need any answers now. You need to make the commitment. Once you make a commitment, then life will give you some answers. You can't decide you're just going to sit on the side of the pool and just stick your toe in. No, you've got to be willing to make the leap. Most people don't want to do that. They want to sit on the side and say, tell me, is it cold out there? Is it rough out there? Come on out and see. No, you want to decide to make that commitment, because then, that's when you become involved in the learning process. He said, concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans, that the moment one commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. He said, whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, magic in it. Begin it now. I read a book by Dr. Johnny Coleman that says it works if you work it. And as you begin to look at your life, decide that you're going to start working on that dream. You're going to work and nurture that idea. Now, there will be people that will criticize you. There will be people that won't see it for you. But I say to you, don't let them turn you around. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, don't let nobody turn you around. Yeah, that's key, because people will try and turn you around. Hello, people will try and turn you around. But when I heard Bob Mays out of Chicago sing that song, don't let nobody turn you around, that's real. Because that's why most people don't act on their dreams and ideas. That's why most people, when I'm talking with kids that are in institutions, and I said, what happened? Why did you give up working hard and making good grades? Well, they started teasing me. And they allowed that peer pressure to cause them to scale down their dreams and their ambitions. They started following the crowd. That's why many people don't do the things they want to do. A friend of mine, he wanted to become an actor all his life. He let someone convince him. You can't become an actor. You go out to Hollywood, they'll swallow you up. It's too competitive. Thousands of unemployed people out there. But then another friend of mine, Sheila Hall, decided at age 42, I'm going to live my dream. Her son graduated from high school. She decided to make the plunge to go to Hollywood. Quiet person, never had any experience in the area, and because she decided to make the commitment, she is now working on a one-woman show, and she's been getting support from everywhere because she was willing to make the commitment. This other guy, far more talented and skillful, but he wasn't willing to make the commitment. So he goes to work every day to a job that's making him sick, because he doesn't have the guts or the boldness to stand up in life and say, I'm going to live my dream. I'm going to commit myself to live out what's in me. I heard Dr. Johnny Youngblood say, I must live what's in me. I said, why do you do this? He said, I got to do it. I got to do it. And I'm saying, find something in your life that you say, hey, it might not work out, but I got to do this. Why? Hey, it's the one thing I love. It's my peace. It's my thing. You don't understand it. It's all right. It's all right. You don't need anybody to understand it. You don't need anybody to approve you. You don't need anybody to say, go ahead on and do it. If you get that, that's fantastic. If you get that encouragement, that's great. But I say, stand up within yourself boldly and say, this is my life. I'm controlling my destiny. Dude, it is so good to have you. You are an unparalleled motivational preacher, and I use that word very intentionally. You have a way of conveying a message with such chills, inspiring goose bump, giving power. It's really, really extraordinary to witness. And it becomes all that much more powerful knowing that you didn't start there, that wasn't sort of naturally your beginning. And you've called life a battle for territory. What do you mean by that? That the things that you get in life, you know, Frederick Douglass said, we might not get everything that we fight for, but everything we get, it will be a fight. I love the quote that life is a fight for territory, and once you stop fighting for what you don't want will automatically take over. Like getting ready to come here to see you, I want to just first of all thank you for the great work that you're doing. I watch you and I study you, and you have had some incredible guests that have impacted my life. And preparing to come here, I'm being treated by Cancer Centers of America for 4th stage cancer, which I've been kicking cancer's butt for 27 years. And I've been working on getting a 6-pack. Before getting here, I still got 1-pack. And I've been working to get some muscles so I can wear my t-shirt, but they weren't large enough, so I wore a long sleeve. That's amazing, man. Talk to me about cancer. You've had such an upbeat attitude about it. It's really pretty extraordinary. Was that your initial reaction? Did you go through a trough of despair when you first got diagnosed? Like, how have you framed that? Dr. Alfred Gozin, who has since passed, was a very unusual guy, and he told me, he said, Mr. Brown, you have cancer. I said, can you give me a second opinion? He said, yes, you're ugly too. I said, oh my God. So I didn't have a chance to have fear. Because you know, those 3 words, you have cancer, are 3 of the most feared words in 7 different languages. I saw it as a fight, and from that time to this time, you know, my PSA was 2,400. That's PSA, prostate specific antigen, and now it's below 0. It metastasized to 7 areas of my body, which was a good thing because 7 is my lucky number. No, I never was fearful that I was going to die from it, and I think that I read something by Dr. Norman Cousins. He wrote a book called The Biology of Hope, and he talked about the fact that when something happens to you, you don't deny it, you defy it. And I was defiant that I'm going to beat this, I'm going to handle this. That there are people who many times when something happens to them, they embrace it from a place of fear, and it takes them out. And Elsie Robinson said, "Things may happen to you, and things may happen around you, but the most important things are the things that happen in you. And you have to stand up inside yourself and deal with it and handle it." So fortunately, that never bothered me, but I had S of Cap that had me speaking in unknown tongues, and I was in a wheelchair for several months, speaking from a wheelchair, and it was something that I dealt with that frightened me. Will this ever end? It was 24 hours. I lost a lot of sleep. It was exhausting going from all types of specialists in and out of the country, and just one day it stopped, and I'm glad that I'm past that. I feel like when you go through some stuff, there are certain things that you don't ever want to see again, and that's what I don't ever want to see again. But fear has not been the biggest challenge that I faced with the things that I've been dealing with in terms of my health. Well, talk to me about the process that you go through mentally. There have been a few times in your life in getting to know your story where there seemed like really key inflection points. Being told that you were teachable but mentally retarded. That for sure is something that would define most people, and they would have a hard time escaping that. Being told that you have cancer, that it's stage 4, that they don't know how to treat it, that's something that consumes most people. How do you build that resilience? Maybe by the time you get to cancer, you've already done so much work, so I get maybe how that one, you're protected by the mechanisms you've built. But in the beginning, how did you crawl out from under the labels that people were putting on you? The easiest thing I've done was to get out from under the labels and to live the life that I live. The most difficult thing I've ever done was to believe that I can do it. What's the difference? The difference is that when you don't know what's impacting you, and it's something that's holding you down and you're not aware of it. The great anthropologist Margaret Mead was in a restaurant in London, and a guy was serving her and said, "There are several Americans here tonight." And she said, "Is that right?" He said, "Let me know when you serve them dessert, and I'll tell you exactly how many are here." He said, "Oh, you couldn't possibly." And so he came back and said, "Okay, I've done it." And she got up and walked around and came back and said, "There are around 25 here." And he looked at the roster. "How did you know that?" She said, "In America, we eat differently from you. When we eat dessert, you eat it from the crust toward the tip. We eat it from the tip toward the crust. When you eat a slice of pie, how do you eat yours? Oh, definitely, from the tip back to the crust for sure. Okay. And so there are things that in my situation, when you live in a dominant culture that is designed to destroy your sense of self and your belief in yourself, you have to learn ways to connect with this power that you have within yourself to handle where you are. The key is to be constantly in a perpetual process of discovering the truth of who you are and fighting constantly to look for ways in which you can escape the inner conversation. I speak to audiences around the world, and I train speakers as well, and I tell them that when you speak, there's an objective you want to achieve. When you speak to an audience, how people live their lives is a result of the story they believe about themselves. So you, as a speaker, when you speak in this program, when people see you, what you do is distract, dispute, and inspire. You distract people from their current story with your guest and the questions that you ask. Through the process of the ongoing questioning and the way in which they respond and the things they have learned, you dismantle their current belief system and inspire them to create a new chapter with their lives. That's an ongoing process of constantly interrupting that conversation, what psychologists call your self-explanatory style, because life is going to beat up on you in so many ways, and many things, they come back. Negative thoughts and how you feel about yourself, they don't die. They come back. In fact, once you stop doing the maintenance work on your mind, listening to motivational messages, going to seminars and workshops, spending time quietly listening to the still, small voice within, who am I really? Is this really me? Am I giving my best? Am I just reflecting what's around me? Because all of these various things affect how we show up in life. Having a strategy to continuously find ourselves reaching higher, Robert Schuller had a book. It's not very popular, but I loved it. It's called Peak to Peak, because you're constantly reaching higher to find out and discover your better self. One of the things you mentioned as I was listening to you is a person, Mr. Washington, that shaped your life. I have a twofold question. We know one of the individuals who shaped your life was Mr. Washington. Another one was Miss M. Brown. But what has shaped your life? The desire to make my mother proud. I'm talking to you because of two women. One gave me life, the other one gave me love. God took me out of my biological mother's womb and placed me in the heart of my adopted mother. My mother, as a kid, she's my hero. Father's Day came around. I gave her a Father's Day card too, because she was not just my mother, but she served as a father as well for 7 children that she did not give birth to, and I always wanted to do something to make her proud. I want to talk about greatness just for a moment. What has been your greatest life lesson? That there are things you can do that you don't know you can do. That's why the book of life says, eye has not seen, ear has not heard. I never saw myself speaking in a stadium before 880,000 people. I never saw myself standing on a stage in Poland to 30,000 people and over 51 different countries. Those are things that I accomplished that I did not see coming. When I realized that there are things that we can do and things that we can achieve that we cannot see, and because we cannot see does not mean we cannot do it. That's why we're taught to lean not unto thine own understanding. We've been programmed and indoctrinated with a mindset to be logical, practical, and realistic. But when you step out of your history, your mindset, and live from your heart where your heart is, they're your treasures also that transports you to begin to live out of your imagination. And Einstein said, the imagination is the preview of what's to come. It takes discipline and persistence to do that. That's what's required to get out of your head into your greatness, and to live and to do the greater. No matter where you are right now, remember, your history is not your destiny. Within you lies a greatness that no setback, no diagnosis, no label can erase. The road to your highest self begins with a simple belief that you were made for more. Keep reaching, keep rising, and never stop writing the story only you were born to tell. Thank you for being here today. Your best chapter is still ahead.